Have you ever looked at someone, maybe a sibling or a friend, and they just seem to eat whatever they want and stay thin,
Hmm.
while you feel like, I don't know, you're constantly fighting an uphill battle with your own body?
Yeah, that's a really common feeling.
It really is, and it's so easy to think, "Okay, they just won the metabolic lottery, and I got the short straw or something."
Right.
But what if that whole idea, that metabolic lottery thing is just completely wrong? We're gonna dive deep today into some really surprising, new research that pretty much challenges everything we thought we knew about metabolism.
Absolutely. That's really our mission here in this deep dive.
Right.
To kind of cut through all those old assumptions. We want to give you some clear insights into how your body actually works.
Okay.
We'll dig into some groundbreaking research,
Okay.
stuff that reveals our, inherent metabolic design. And crucially, we'll talk about actionable ways you can support your body's natural setup.
Mhm.
It's really about understanding the true potential, the hardwired potential of your metabolism.
Okay, so let's jump right in then. Myth number 1. Metabolism is just this random lottery. Is it really just like a roll of the dice? Some people get born with a fast engine, others get a slow one.
Well, that's where things get really fascinating. The latest research,
Yeah.
it completely throws that idea out the window.
Really?
Yeah. There was this massive study, the biggest one ever done like this. They looked at 6,000 people,
Mm.
okay, across 20 countries. And the ages range from tiny babies, like 2 days old, all the way up to 90 years old.
Wow, that's a huge range.
It is. And what they found is it's remarkable. Everyone is born with the exact same metabolic operating system.
The same.
Exactly the same. Think of it like buying two new laptops, right?
Yeah.
Same make, same model. You take them out of the box, their operating systems are identical.
Mm.
Our metabolisms, at birth, it's the same deal.
Okay, but hold on. That kind of flies in the face of what so many people feel, what they experience day to day. If we all start with the same metabolic hardware, the same operating system, why does it look so different later on? Why does it seem like some people just burn through calories while others really struggle?
Yeah, that's the key question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not the hardware itself that's different initially. It's what happens after it leaves the factory, so to speak. It's kind of like well, user error, for lack of a better term.
Error.
Think about that laptop again. If you drop it or it overheats all the time, maybe you spill coffee on it, download a bunch of viruses,
Right.
it's not going to run smoothly, right? It slows down.
Right. Makes sense.
Our metabolism is similar. It's designed to work optimally, but our life experiences, exposures to things in the environment, our daily habits, all that stuff changes how it performs over time.
Okay.
But here's the really good news. Despite all the, let's call it metabolic derangement or dysfunction we see out there, it seems we can actually reel it back in. We can nudge it back towards that original hardwired state. It sort of points to this idea of metabolic reset, or maybe a better term is metabolic hygiene.
Metabolic hygiene. I like that. It sounds less like a quick fix and more like ongoing maintenance. That's actually really empowering, the idea that we're not just stuck.
Exactly. It's not predetermined.
Okay, but let's tackle another big one. This belief that metabolism just tanks when we hit middle age, 40s, 50s, 60s. People think weight gain is inevitable. You just have to accept your body changing. So many of us have heard that. Or maybe even feel like our metabolism hit a wall at some point.
Oh, absolutely. That idea is so deeply ingrained. But again, the science from this huge study, it paints a completely different picture of how metabolism works across our lifespan. There are actually 4 distinct phases they identify.
4 phases.
Okay, right. So phase 1 is from birth to about 1 year old. And during this time, metabolism is just skyrocketing. It actually reaches levels 50% higher than an adult's.
50%. Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. And it really makes you think, doesn't it,
Uh-huh.
about how important those very early life exposures are.
Yeah.
Things like, microplastics, maybe from pacifiers or teddy bears, stuff like that could potentially influence a baby's metabolic blueprint for life.
That's a sobering thought. Okay, so phase 1 is babyhood, super high metabolism. What's next?
Phase 2 runs from about age 1 up to age 20. And during this phase, metabolism gradually dials down from that peak baby level, settling into what we consider adult levels.
Okay, a gradual decrease. Makes sense.
Now, here's where it gets really, really interesting. Phase 3, this covers ages 20 all the way to 60.
40 years.
40 years.
Yeah.
And this is the mic drop finding, really. Human metabolism during this entire period is designed to be rock stable. It doesn't significantly change.
Wait, stable from 20 to 60?
Rock stable. That's what the data shows. It means theoretically 60 can be the new 20, metabolically speaking, if we support that hardwired system.
That's huge.
It is. Then finally, phase 4, from age 60 up to 90 plus. Here we do see a drop, but it's gentle. Only about 17% on average over those 30 years. So the main story is remarkable stability for most of our adult lives.
Rock stable for 40 years. I'm still processing that because, again, that clashes so strongly with lived experience for many, many people. If I feel like my metabolism crashed in my 40s or 50s, how do I square that feeling with this science saying it's meant to be stable? What's really going on?
That's the critical point, isn't it? The science isn't dismissing people's experiences. It's saying the cause isn't an automatic pre-programmed slowdown in the engine itself.
Okay.
Instead, the implication is that it's the cumulative effect of everything we've been talking about. Life experiences, behaviors, exposures that gradually alters how efficiently our metabolism works over those decades.
So it's like small hits accumulating over time.
Exactly. And then during middle age, you often have this convergence of factors. Those accumulated effects are really starting to show. Plus, you have natural hormonal shifts happening, like lower estrogen in women and something called andropause in men, which is kind of the male equivalent of menopause, though less discussed.
All right, andropause, yeah.
Now, these hormonal changes can definitely affect things like energy, brain function, body composition. But it's not just hormones. You add in chronic stress, which messes with our physiology and our mental state, derailing that hardwired programming. Then there's lack of sleep. So many people are sleep deprived, and sleep is fundamental for metabolic regulation. And of course, often reduced physical activity, because life gets demanding, right? Jobs, kids, maybe aging parents, global stress. All these things pile up.
Yeah, life happens.
Precisely. And all these factors together slowly push us off that optimal hardwired path. It looks like our metabolism is broken, but the underlying design, that potential for stability, it's still there. Our body's just reacting to the conditions we're creating for it.
Okay, this is making more sense. It's less about a swish flipping off at 40 and more about the wear and tear of life, sort of. So if our bodies are hardwired for this stability, and a lot of the changes we see are due to these cumulative effects or user error, how do we, get back to basics? How do we support that natural design? Let's talk actionable stuff, starting with food.
Right, food is a great place to start.
Yeah.
And one of the key principles is satiety, feeling genuinely full and satisfied after you eat.
Satiety, okay.
If you feel full, you're naturally less likely to overeat later on or snack constantly. And foods rich in dietary fiber are fantastic for this.
Like what specifically?
Think chickpeas, legumes, lentils, white beans, that whole family. For instance, have you ever tried adding a good amount of, say, black beans or kidney beans to a taco or a salad?
Yeah, definitely.
You probably notice it makes you feel surprisingly full, right? Maybe you eat less later in the day.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
That's the power of fiber. It has the satiety effect that signals both your gut and your brain that you're full. And there's a huge added bonus that fiber feeds your gut microbiome.
Ah, the gut bacteria. We hear so much about that now.
And for good reason. A healthy gut microbiome is increasingly linked to longevity, lower inflammation, even better immune function, and potentially helping with autoimmune conditions. So fiber does double duty, helps you feel full, and supports that crucial internal ecosystem.
Okay, so load up on fiber from things like beans and lentils for satiety and gut health. Got it. What about protein? That's another one we hear constantly is important.
Oh, protein is super important, especially I'd say once you get past 40. It's really critical for maintaining and even building muscle mass. And muscle is metabolically active tissue, so keeping it strong helps your metabolism.
Right, muscle burns more calories.
Exactly. As for where to get it, I tend to advocate for a balanced omnivore approach for most people. Get protein from various sources, from red meat, poultry, fish, but also plant-based sources like those legumes we just talked about.
So variety is key.
Variety and also enjoyment. This is crucial. You need to find healthy protein sources that you actually like eating. Because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to stick with it long term. Sustainability is everything.
Makes sense. You can't force yourself to eat stuff you hate forever.
Precisely. And interestingly, there was a study looking at longevity and cognition, and it found that people eating a diverse, balanced diet actually had better brain health outcomes down the line, sometimes even better than groups following very strict vegetarian or other specific dietary patterns.
Huh. So being too rigid might actually backfire.
It suggests that, yeah, being almost, religious about avoiding certain food groups might mean you miss out on important nutrients. Dietary diversity helps ensure you get everything you need, like bioavailable iron from meat, or those really beneficial omega-3 fatty acids from fatty fish, things that are harder to get elsewhere.
Okay, so variety, enjoyment, balance. Good principles. Now, you mentioned earlier that not all processed food is the same. That term causes so much confusion. Can you kind of clarify that for us? What's the difference between processed and ultra processed? What should we actually be wary of?
Yeah, that's a really important distinction, and we need a bit more discipline with these terms. Look, almost everything we eat is processed in some way, right? We rarely eat things straight out of the ground.
True, cooking is processing.
Exactly. Taking raw ingredients and doing something to them, cooking, chopping, mixing, preparing. Think about making pasta from scratch. Flour, eggs, you mix it, roll it out. That's technically processed. But it's minimally processed using recognizable ingredients. That's generally not the stuff we need to worry about.
Okay, so what is the worry? What's ultra processed?
Ultra-processed foods are different. These are typically factory-made products. Often, industrial machines extrude ingredients into shapes and forms that are pretty unnatural, barely resembling the original food source. Think about many breakfast cereals or, those animal-shaped crackers.
Ah, okay.
And then, crucially, they add a lot of other things. Chemicals like emulsifiers to change texture, preservatives for long shelf life, artificial colors, artificial flavors, and very often lots of added sugar, salt, or unhealthy fats. These foods are basically
Engineered. For what?
engineered for hyperpalatability, meaning they taste intensely good in a way that makes you want more. Engineered for convenience, engineered for a super long shelf life, and frankly, engineered to make you overconsume them.
So it's about the degree of transformation and all those additives, not just basic preparation.
Precisely. It's the industrial formulations, the stuff far removed from whole ingredients.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, a lot of what we casually call junk food definitely falls into this ultra-processed category.
It feels like we're kind of conditioned to reach for those things, though, because they are so convenient.
We absolutely are, through marketing and just the pace of modern life. But ultimately, like choosing to follow the speed limit when you drive, it is a choice. We can choose to make healthier decisions more often. And stepping back, it's really about the overall pattern, isn't it? Your whole approach matters more than obsessing over one single good or bad food.
Right, the bigger picture.
Yeah, like take oatmeal or coffee. They can be healthy staples. Plain oatmeal is great. Black coffee has beneficial compounds, might even help with cellular aging. But you load that oatmeal with brown sugar, or turn that coffee into a sugary drink with 20 or 30 grams of sugar and syrups. Well, it becomes something very different metabolically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just food, we touched on it earlier, but lifestyle factors are huge. Sleep is absolutely fundamental for metabolic health. Managing stress, finding healthy ways to cope is critical too, because stress impacts our physiology directly, messing with that hardwired programming. These things work together with your diet.
It really is a holistic picture then. Food, sleep, stress, activity, it all ties into supporting that inherent metabolic potential.
Exactly. It's about creating the right conditions for your body's natural design to shine through.
This has been so insightful. Seriously. It's amazing and kind of comforting to hear that our bodies are designed to be so resilient, hardwired for this strong, stable metabolism, and that we actually have significant power to influence it positively. It really shifts the whole narrative away from feeling doomed by genetics or age towards one of conscious choice and good habits.
It really does. And maybe that leads to a final thought, something for you listening to mull over. If our metabolism is designed for this kind of robustness, and if it can be largely supported or even reset through consistent, mindful choices, this idea of metabolic hygiene rather than chasing fad diets, what could our world look like if we, collectively, really focused on that? How might that kind of fundamental shift in understanding transform our relationship with food, with our own bodies, and maybe our overall well-being in the long run? Just think about the profound compounding effect of making those small, consistent, supportive choices day after day, year after year.
Yeah.
What could that really achieve?